a pointing beam on earth's uncertain roads. His birth held up a symbol and a sign. His human self, like a translucent cloak, covered the all-wise, who leads the unseen world. The omniscient goddess would have liked to come and stay here. She would have liked to come and stay here in this mortal world. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. She found spaces ready for her trade, yet she was unwanted. She was not a welcome guest here. She was an unwelcome guest. The obscurity of the physical would not allow her entry into this world. Occult yoga tapasya had yet to be done. The physical sufficiently prepared for things to happen here. There was the mind of night standing across a path and should not be able to proceed. Mind, this mind of night, could be removed only by accepting the mortal birth, by dynamically working out things from within, working out things in this mortal world itself. But even for that to come about, the vast cosmic transcendental ground had to be readied. The cosmic transcendental ground had to be prepared. This preparation of the ground, the preparation of this bhumi, the support for the work, adhara, could be done by none other than the Supreme Himself. The Supreme comes as Ashwapati and does the founding yoga tapasya, compelling the omniscient goddess, the divine Savitri, to take mortal birth. Come as human Savitri, the divine goddess, the omniscient goddess, should come here as human Savitri, which is possible only when Ashwapati has prepared the necessary ground for her arrival here. The divine Savitri is compelled to pass through the portals of the birth, that is a death. In fact, there is absolutely no other way by which things could be redeemed, things could be changed, things could be got ready. The mortal's lot got disburdened. But who is going to compel her? Who is going to compel the omniscient goddess to take the mortal birth? Who is going to persuade her to accept the lot of this mortality? There might be the worst desire, cherishing the hope of her coming. There might be the urge inherently present in the soul of mortality. There might be hope, there might be the plea, the invocation, the expectation, the supplication. There might be the genuine intensity of thought and feeling and action. But if they are earthborn, they would prove inadequate. They are indeed inadequate. Our call does not reach the omniscient goddess. They are not only inadequate and wanting, they even prove to be stubborn in opposition to any change. If there has to be a breakthrough, it can be only by a higher superior being coming down here and preparing the necessary foundation for the work, foundation based on the rocks of diamond, foundation in the flaming greatness of the fire of the soul of nature, There has to be the intensity of immemorial quest, the quest born at the beginning of time and striving through the long toiling ages, ages of sorrow and suffering and pain and anguish. That fierceness of the quest, that hunt for the true and the bright, it has to be constantly burning and blazing in the breast of the mortal. Agni has to be ever awake and kindled. To counter the earth's dullness of response, her dumbness, the superior being must bring down a radiant power, the power who can make active her soul and her obdurate nature. The soul of the earth, the obdurate nature of the earth, they had to be prepared for her arrival. Savitri is that radiant power. It is not her immortal but mortal birth that can be compelled. You cannot compel the immortal birth of Savitri. You can compel her mortal birth. This Savitri, perhaps in contrast to the omniscient goddess, is a swift flaming warrior. She comes from eternal peaks, the golden peak of existence, Hema Shikhara. That is the coming of the divine Savitri. She taking birth as human Savitri. But who is the superior being compelling her mortal birth? The mortal birth of the radiant power. Who is he? He is the One himself, the incarnate divine himself. He comes as Ashwapati.